Welcome back to another episode of SmoothBrainEDH, where we make the smoothest plays with the biggest brains. This week is Harmonicon week. Everyone brewed up a deck where the commander doubles a certain type of effect, similar to how Panharmonicon doubles up enter the battlefield triggers. So let's see what everyone brought to the table. First up is Ethan on Kalamax, the Stormsire. This teamer deck is all about instant spells, using Kalamax to copy them on the stack and gain a ton of advantage. Next up is Jason on Ashnod, the Uncaring. This Grixis deck is centered around sacrificing artifacts, copying the activated ability that sacrifices the permanents. Third is Seth on Isshin, 2 heavens is 1. This Mardu deck wants to turn creatures sideways in the combat step, doubling up on all attack triggers. Last is Matt on Yarok the Desecrated with the Karuga the Macrosage Companion. This Sultai deck is all about doubling up on enter the battlefield triggers with the added fun that everything is 3 mana value or greater. We're about to hop right into the game, but before that, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new content. We have links to our social media, public Discord server, Decklists, and our Patreon in the description. We're partnered with Dragon Shield. Check out our affiliate link in the description if you'd like to pick up any sleeves, deck boxes, or playmats, and use code SMOOTH5 at checkout for 5% off your order. Now, on to the gameplay.
Ethan appears to be the conqueror of the die roll, and he'll start off with a command tower into Springleaf Drum, and then he'll pass to Jason, who starts and fetches with a Marsh Flats. He says he's going to go get an Undercity Sewers to surveil and passes before resolving any of that. Seth plays Raucous Theater and surveils a Sokenzan to the graveyard. Then he'll pass to Matt, who plays and fetches with Misty Rainforest, and he'll find a Hedge Maze and surveil to the top. And Jason will also finally find his Undercity Sewers, and he'll surveil a Talisman to the graveyard. The turn is then passed to Ethan, and he'll start off with a Birds of Paradise, then he'll play a tapped Breeding Pool as land for turn and pass to Jason. And Jason plays a Morphic Pool into an Izzet Signet, then passes to Seth, who just plays a tapped Godless Shrine and passes to Matt. Matt will play an Ancient Tomb as land for turn, and then tap for 3 and cast Wood Elves. He'll take 2 damage off that land. He says he's going to go find Underground Mortuary to the battlefield tapped and surveil 1, and then pass to Ethan while searching. Ethan will play Reliquary Tower as land for turn, and then cast Kalamax, and then pass to Jason, who shocks in a Blood Crypt, and Matt will keep his surveil on top. Then Jason taps for 4 and casts Veldalkin Archmage, and then he'll pass to Seth, who plays a Spectator Seating and casts Adeline, then passes to Matt, who plays a Snow Forest. Then he'll tap out and cast Yarok the Desecrated. The turn is then passed, and Ethan will stay on instep to tap Kalamax to float a blue off Springleaf Drum, and he'll use that to cast and copy Opt. So he'll scry 1 to the bottom and draw, then keep 1 on top and draw. Then we'll move to his turn, where he'll play an island, then cast Archmage Emeritus, and then move to combat, where he'll swing Kalamax over at Seth for 5 commander damage, who will just take it, and then the turn is passed to Jason. He'll start off with a Soul Guide Lantern and draw a card off casting, and when he ETBs, he'll exile Ethan's Opt. He'll play a City of Brass. He'll then cast a Tarian's Journal and Lightning Greaves, and he'll draw off both. Archmage is equipped, and now it's Seth's turn, who plays a Plains as land for turn. He'll then cast Isshin and then move to combat. Adeline is swung over at Ethan. Double attack trigger sends 2 1/1s at each opponent. Everyone will block 1 1/1 and then take 1, and Ethan will take 9. The turn is then passed to Matt, and he'll play another Snow Forest. He'll then cast Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, and he has a couple ETB triggers. He'll gain 3, draw a card, and put in Field of the Dead, and then sacrifice Uro. Then do it again, this time putting in another Snow Forest. He'll then cast an Outcaster Trailblazer, and when he ETBs, he'll float 2 mana. He'll use that mana and his last untapped land to cast a Skyclave Relic. He'll then pass the turn, and on instep, Ethan will cast Growth Spiral. He'll get a second one, and then also get a card off his Archmage. Lands put in are Otawara and Ketria Triome. We'll then move to Ethan's turn, where he'll immediately move to combat and swing Kalamax at Jason for 6, who will just take it. He'll then cast and copy Crop Rotation, sacrificing the Breeding Pool he used to cast it, and he draws. This gets him Exotic Orchard and Rejuvenating Springs. He'll then cast a Seedborn Muse. Thank you for putting it right there, Ethan. Good fix. Good boy. He'll then cast a Felwar Stone, and then a Nature's Lore. Draw trigger is put on the stack, and Seth will respond to both by casting Swords to Plowshares on the Seedborn Muse. Stack then resolves, and Ethan finds a Forest. And then he'll pass to Jason, who starts off with his own Felwar Stone, and he'll get to draw, and then he'll cast a Commander Sphere and draw again. He then says, "While I'm glad the Seedborn Muse is gone, I still hate this board. Blasphemous act." So yeah, board dead. And then he'll cast Emery, Lurker of the Loch.
4 mills were a Mayhem Devil, a Swamp, a Smelting Vat, and a Verdant Catacombs.
Emery is then grieved up, and Jason will activate his journal to sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern and draw a card. He'll then activate Emery so he can cast it out of his graveyard again, and it exiles the Emeritus. The turn is then passed to Seth, and he'll start off with a Mountain. He'll use it to cast a Soul Ring, Then he'll cast an Esper Sentinel, and then Isshin, and then he'll pass the turn to Matt, where we see Yarok hit the field again. He'll then pass to Ethan, who starts off with an island. He'll then recast Kalamax, and then cast Wilderness Reclamation, not paying 1. Ethan will then move to his end step, and Wilderness Reclamation will put a trigger on the stack, and he'll respond to it by floating a blue and a red, and then he'll untap all his lands. Still in end step, he'll use that 2 mana to help cast a big score, which Kalamax will copy since he tapped it with the Springleaf Drum. So he'll discard Roiling Vortex, then draw 4 and make 4 treasures. Then we'll move to Jason's turn, where we'll see Ashnod finally hit the field. Then he'll cast Crime Novelist. And just for the record, Ashnod does not double up this trigger since it is a triggered ability, not an activated one. Still very good in this deck though. Jason will then sacrifice his Commander Sphere to draw 2, and Crime Novelist will trigger. He'll then sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern to draw another 2, and Crime Novelist triggers again. He'll then cast Urza's Bauble and not pay the 1. It's sacrificed and Ethan is targeted twice. He'll reveal Counterspell and Wavebreak Hippocamp to his opponents. Thanks to Emery, Jason will do this again. Ethan will reveal Counterspell again and then Hedge Maze. After this, Jason will play a Polluted Delta and fetch for an untapped Watery Grave. That helps cast this here Marionette Apprentice. Fabricate makes a Nerd, which is sacrificed to the Journal immediately. So draw 2 and Crime Novelist trigger. And then he'll cast an Arcane Signet, then an Executioner's Capsule, and then Lightning Greaves is moved over to the Crime Novelist and Jason moves to combat. Ethan is Yoinky Sploinked for 6, then Greaves are moved back over to Emery and the turn is passed to Seth, who starts off with a basic Swamp. Then he'll cast a Decadent Dragon, then Agris Kos, and he suspects Yarok. He'll then swing 3 Commander at Ethan and 1 at Matt, and they both take it, and then Seth will pass the turn. Matt starts off with a Solemn Simulacrum. Double ETB will get him a basic island and a basic swamp to the battlefield tapped. And that swamp is his 7th uniquely named land, so Feel of the Dead and Yarok make him 2 zombies. Matt will then swing for 3 lifelink at Ethan, who just takes it, and then he'll pass to Ethan, who starts off with a Wavebreak Hippocamp. Then he'll just pass the turn. Jason will just immediately activate his Executioner's Capsule, and thanks to Ashnod he can destroy 2 creatures here. He targets Agris Kos and Kalamax. Ethan responds by activating Springleaf Drum to float a red and tapping Kalamax, and he'll cast Lightning Bolt. He does pay the 1, and he gets a second copy. Both will target Ashnod, and his Hippocamp will draw him a card. So, Ashnod is dead, which triggers the Marionette Apprentice. Then the Capsule abilities will resolve. The Apprentice also gets triggered off the Capsule being sacrificed. Crime Novelist triggered too. Jason will then bolt himself by playing and fetching with Bloodstained Mire and finding an untapped Steam Vents. Jason will then recast Ashnod. Then Tarian's Journal will sacrifice Izzet Signet to draw him 2, and there's also a couple triggers. And then he recasts Executioner's Capsule with the help of Emery, and he doesn't pay the 1. He'll then pop the Capsule to kill Esper Sentinel and the Hippocamp, and there's a couple triggers from this as well. Jason then moves to combat and swings for 9 at Seth. No blocks, and then the turn is passed to Seth. He'll play an Arid Mesa as land for turn, then he'll cast an Arcane Signet. He'll then cast Rising of the Day, then Delina Wild Mage. He'll then move to combat and swing Delina at Ethan, and Decadent Dragon at Matt. Attack triggers, which are doubled. Decadent Dragon will create 2 treasures, and then for Delina, he rolls an 11 and then a 6, so he only gets 2 token copies, both flying over at Matt. And neither of them can block, so they take their damage. Seth will just pass the turn after combat. Matt starts off with another Snow Forest, double field trigger, then he'll pay 3 mana to put his companion into his hand. And then he'll immediately cast Karuga and draw 6 cards. After this, he'll cast a Harrow, sacrificing a tapped Snow Forest, and this finds him a Snow Swamp and Snow Island. Field of the Dead triggers. Matt will then move to combat and swing for 3 at Seth. No blocks, then Matt will move to discard and discard a Snow Island and Decanter of Endless Water, then pass to Ethan, who, just recast Kalamax. I mean, what's he going to do without his commander? Then he'll cast a Relic of Legends, and then pass the turn and untap all his lands. Jason will start his turn off with a Treasure Vault, and he'll immediately sacrifice it. X is 4, and Ashnod will copy it. This will also put a Crime Novelist and a Marionette trigger on the stack. With all this on the stack, when priority gets to Ethan, he will request that Matt and Seth please be nice to me. Then he'll tap Kalamax using the Relic of Legends, and then he'll cast a Snap targeting the Marionette Apprentice. Kalamax puts a copy on the stack targeting Crime Novelist, and Ethan will respond by floating 2 mana so that when both these resolve, he untaps 4 lands. Then the rest of the stack resolves, so each of Jason's opponents lose a life. He'll float a red, and then get 8 treasures. Jason will then cast the Marionette Apprentice, and Ethan decides to counterspell this, knowing that it could probably drain and kill him this turn. Jason responds to this by casting Mana Drain on the counterspell, but Ethan will negate right back at him, countering the Mana Drain. There are no other responses to the stack from here, so TLDR, Marionette Apprentice is countered. After this, for a measly 4 mana, Jason's able to cast Imskir Iron Eater. It resolves, so Jason will draw 4 and lose 4 on ETB. After this, he'll Emery back Executioner's Capsule, and then he'll just pass the turn to Seth, who will start off by moving to combat. Jason asks, "What's coming at me?" Seth says, maybe some things. So Jason blows up his capsule to destroy the Wild Mage and the Dragon. Post-combat, we see Seth drop Blasphemous Act number 2. Matt will respond by bouncing his commander by channeling Otawara. Act then resolves, and Matt will draw a card off his Sad Sam dying. Post-combat, we see a Bog hit Jason. Seth will then recast Isshin, and then the turn is passed to Matt, who will recast Yarok, then play an Exotic Orchard as land for turn and create 2 zombies. After this, Matt evokes Foundation Breaker out. 2 ETB triggers will destroy Lightning Greaves and Rising of the Day. Then Matt drops Vaultborn Tyrant. On ETB, he gets to draw 2 and gain 6. The turn is then passed to Ethan, who casts Ye Old 10 mana Kalamax. Then he'll pass the turn and untap all of his lands. Jason starts off with a Great Furnace as land for turn. Then he'll recast Ashnod. Then he'll cast a Goblin Engineer, which tutors Scrap Trawler to his graveyard. He'll then cast a Mishra's Bauble and crack it to target both Ethan and Matt's top of library. He says to go ahead and reveal it because he would reveal it himself anyways. It's lands. He'll then pass to Seth and draw 2 on Seth's upkeep. Seth will start off with a Black Market Connections. Oh, and that's it. He'll pass to Matt. We knew about that Verdant Catacombs, so he'll play it as land for turn and create some zombos. Matt will then move to combat, and Vaultborn Tyrant goes over at Ethan. Then 2 zombies go over at Seth. Ethan throws Kalamax under the bus, and Seth will block one of the 2/2 zombies and take 2. Ethan will also take 2 trample. Matt will then cast a Displacer Kitten, and then an Oubliette, which triggers the kitten and flickers Vaultborn Tyrant, meaning he'll draw 2 and gain 6 more. Then the Oubliette will resolve, and this phases out and taps Isshin and Ashnod. The turn is then passed to Ethan, where he'll play a mountain, then tap for 12 and cast Kalamax again. Turn is passed, lands are untapped. Then on his turn, Jason will cast Marionette Master, and when it ETBs, Fabricate will put counters on it. Jason will then recast Crime Novelist. Then he'll activate Goblin Engineer to sacrifice his Arcane Signet and bring back Scrap Trawler. And from this, Marionette Master will drain Matt for 4. There's also a Crime Novelist trigger. Jason will then activate Tyrion's Journal to sacrifice his Felwar Stone and draw a card. Triggers on the stack, Mishra's Bauble will go back to hand thanks to Scrap Trawler, Crime Novelist will trigger, and Matt will lose another 4. Jason will then cast the Mishra's Bauble, and Matt decides, hey, it's time for me to respond, and he'll flash in an Urtai Resurrected. On ETB, Urtai will destroy both Marionette Master and Crime Novelist, and Jason will draw 2. Then the Bauble will resolve. Jason will then play Luxury Suite as land for turn, and then Stormclaw Rager. Jason then has Matt reveal the top card of his library with the Bauble, and this reveals actual factual Shieldred. And yes, don't worry, we do know that the Bauble is look, not reveal. Jason just said he was going to tell everybody what it was anyway, so we skipped the middleman. And then he'll pass the turn to Seth. Pre-combat main phase, he will lose 2 life and draw a card. And then afterwards decides he also wants the Shapeshifter, so another 3 life gone. He'll then cast Krenko Tin Street Kingpin, and then Aurelia, the Law Above. Seth will then swing 4 in the air over at Jason and then pass the turn, where Matt starts off with Shieldred. When she ETBs, he'll draw 2 and gain 6, and then each opponent has to sacrifice 2 non-token creatures, or planeswalkers. Matt will then move to combat and swing 12 over at Jason with his Tyrant and 3 zombies, and then he'll swing 6 at Seth. Seth blocks Urtai with his 3/2 and will take 3 commander, and Jason unfortunately will perish here. Post-combat, Matt will cast a Conjurer's Closet, and this lets him flicker his Tyrant to draw 2 and gain 6. Then he'll do it again on his end step with Conjurer's Closet. He then discards a lot of lands on cleanup and then passes to Ethan. Ethan and Seth are in a bad spot, so Ethan's going to play a mountain, then tap for 14 and cast Kalamax, and then with the remaining 3 mana he has after that, he's going to cast a Salundi Vision and copy it. Matt responds by fetching for a forest with his Verdant Catacombs. Then he'll cast a Eureka Moment to let him draw 2 cards and put in a Bajuka Bog, and double targets will target Ethan. Also, Shieldred gets flickered, so Kalamax is dead. Anyways, time to resolve these visions. First one will hit Factor Fiction, and the second, a Beast Within. Ethan will then cast the Factor Fiction. Seth is obviously his guy, and Ethan reveals 2 lands, Rashmi, and 2 spells that copy spells. Seth says, wow, these don't matter, and he 5-0s Ethan. So he gets all of those to his hand, and then Ethan will move to his end step and untap all of his lands. The turn is then passed to Seth, and he'll pay 2 to draw a card, and then he'll cast Lava Spur Boots, and then just pass the turn. In Matt's upkeep, Ethan will cast Galvanic Iteration, hold priority, and then Increasing Vengeance it. When that Vengeance resolves and puts another Galvanic Iteration on the stack, Ethan will then flash back Increasing Vengeance to get a 3rd and 4th copy of Galvanic Iteration, and then those will all resolve. He'll then cast Beast Within, targeting Displacer Kitten, and 4 more will go on the stack. Other targets are Shieldred, Vaultborn Tyrant, Conjurer's Closet, and Yarok. Matt doesn't respond, so all those are destroyed, and he gets 5 3/3 beasts and a token copy of Vaultborn Tyrant. Matt will then start his turn off by completely floating all of his mana, and he'll use 8 of it to cast Yarok again. He's got 7 still floating, and he'll play a command tower and miss his Fill of the Dead trigger, but that doesn't matter. He'll cast Palinchron, double Vaultborn and double Palinchron triggers, so he untaps 14 lands. And in case you didn't know, Yarok and Palinchron is just infinite mana. He can pay 4 mana to bounce it back to his hand, and then cast it again to untap 14 lands. He'll also be drawing 2 and gaining 6 every time he does this. But Matt realizes, I don't have a Crater of Effect 2 in this game. So he'll just move to combat, swing for 10 at Ethan, then cast an Eternal Witness to get Urtai back to his hand, and also Displacer Kitten, and then he'll pass the turn to Seth, and he'll be able to kill him on his next turn if Seth can't deal with this. He doesn't find anything, he finds a Karlach, so he'll just pay 5 life to his black market connections and perish. And hey, that makes Matt and Yarok the Desecrated the winners. Congratulations! Hey everyone, welcome to the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed. Whew, that was quite the doozy of a game. That was over 2 hours of gameplay. But hey, I enjoyed watching and editing it. Let us know what you guys thought down in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I've also got a ton of links you might be interested in as well, including the deck lists. But yeah, I'm kinda eepy. I'm gonna sign off. I hope you all have a smooth day.